the games will go on. There's no TV timeout, so that puts an extra demand and layer of systems because this is about a competition that happens to be covered by television.
Behind that lens of the camera could be hundreds of millions of people, depending on the event. Broadcast production reaches many more people than could ever be seen in the venue. We want predictability with power.
There are no second takes. In live television broadcast, just like with the athletes, you only get one chance. And there's no bigger stage than the Olympic Games. When you're beaming out live action to a hungry television audience in all corners of the world, power availability must be guaranteed.
The biggest investments in the games is made by the broadcast folks. So NBC alone spent probably over $1 billion to get the broadcast rights for the US for these games in London. And we, as part of our family, we want to protect NBC's investment. We don't want ever to see an outage at any one of the venues because it's so important. You can't recreate TV, so it's live and you want everything to go perfectly.
When we talk about design, I look at it as encompassing the whole project, including fueling, management, operations, logistics, etc. However, the electrical design is the most important because when you get that done, you can bring everything else together and put it all together for equipment lists, and then you have a really good idea as to what you actually need, resource-wise, equipment-wise, and we depend a lot on that to actually get to the final goal. As far as broadcast is concerned, the Olympic Games is absolutely unique and it has to be done in the correct manner.
You cannot make many allowances for the power that the OBS requires. And this is due to the fact that even to the last minute, there are additions to the power supply that they need. All this means that you have to have specified your systems with enough capability in order to take the extra loads that will definitely materialize towards the beginning of the games.
The International Broadcast Centre is the broadcasting hub for the worldwide TV distribution of the Olympic Games. It demands a unique power supply configuration with multiple levels of resilience, including redundant utility feeds, temporary generation backup, and large kVA uninterruptible power supplies. The operations rely on a complex system of automation, including power transfer from various sources and synchronization with the grid. The power supply has to be completely reliable and secure.
We have dual grid feeds from separate substations coming into the IBC, and we have the ability to switch from one grid system to another grid system. So if a whole substation fails, we can switch to a standby substation through what we call ATSs, or automatic transfer switches, and then we distribute through multiple panels through to each rights holder area. We have an additional level of UPS battery, so we can run with complete loss of grid power and backup grid power, and also loss of generators.
The power design for the International Broadcast Centre presents unique challenges, balancing the legacy use of the building with the technical and operational requirements of OBS and rights-holding broadcasters at games time.
The IBC was a very difficult one for us because of the way the building was actually designed. It was designed as a legacy building to be incorporated afterwards, not specifically for broadcasting. Therefore, the actual switching system was not what OBS really required in relation to their operational period during the games. So we had to change the controllers, logic systems, and do a lot of work there in order to make that work, which we successfully did.
Конфигурация энергосети главного центра устроена сложным образом. Существующая система предполагает резервирование соответствующее переключение, селективность. Эта конфигурация сети предполагает наличие сложной системы автоматики, резерва, селективности и избирательности. И чтобы телезрители смогли увидеть всю прелесть Олимпийских игр, система энергоснабжения главного медиацентра должна быть самая надежная и самая защищенная.
With such scale and complexity, tied up in the robust and resilient delivery of power to OBS and rights-holding broadcasters, a planned testing phase before the games begin is mission critical.
We do a detailed cause and effect study, and that's normally done about 2 to 3 months before the commencement of competition. The user engagement test, that's with all the rights holders, that's normally done about 2 weeks before the opening ceremony. We want to make sure when everybody's fully operational at full load that the system will operate in a predictable fashion.
We're halfway up a mountain. You know, we have to drag very extremely heavy cables, and it's got to be backed up in dual areas. So we've got domestic power, we've got technical power. You know, you've got athletes in the competition fields, which are just meters apart from each other. So, you know, you have to have all that sort of stuff organised well in advance.
Just like with the IBC, on venue, it's all about resilience and robustness.
We try and run a redundant system, so we have 2 completely discrete services that go through, and they're backed up by a twin-pack generator set for the technical power, and also for the domestic power we have a separate system again. If we lose the grid power, the UPS will then start to supply the power to the outside broadcast fans and some facilities. Now the next step for us is the generators are all running as a backup supply to us. We've lost our main grid, and at that point, one of either myself or one of my deputies will then actually work with the guys, give them instruction to then go on to the generator supply, and at that point then we'll then advise everybody else that they can now restore their services back on the auxiliary supply. We're not interested at that point whether the grid comes back or not, because we're not going to jeopardise our operations by swapping from the generators back to grid. So we will maintain our power supply to all of us, OBS and everybody else, until we've actually got clear of the program for that day.
The scale and complexity of broadcast operations for the Olympic Games is unlike any other global event. The number of sports and venues, together with the amount of rights-holding broadcasters from around the world, the scale of the International Broadcast Centre and the visibility of the Games to a live global TV audience means that broadcasters must have absolute confidence in the availability and reliability of power supply. However, this complexity can be well managed and the risk greatly reduced by accepting a few simple pieces of advice.
The main advice to start work closely with OBS as early as possible, because when first time you hear the requirements, everybody thinks that it's something extraordinary, but finally when everything is starting working, we understand that according to their experience of so many games, they know well what they want and they don't ask something extraordinary.
Nobody ever wants to believe that an Olympics is different. They will tell you, well, we've done a Super Bowl here, we've done World Cup here. This is unlike anything you have done or will ever do in stressing infrastructure, facilities, and requirements of these facilities, both at the IBC and at the competition venues.
Poor power results in a poor viewing experience, whereas resilient, stable power results in brilliant pictures. And brilliant pictures result in very happy viewers and very happy rights holders.